All right then. We would now begin with the technical session. Our first technical session among the four scheduled today would be chaired by Dr. Candy D. Kuha, Associate Professor of English, Department of Science and Humanities, Loyola Institute of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh, India. I hand over the session to you. Ma'am, your audio is on mute, I think.
Okay. So good morning to one and all. Let me first congratulate the keynote speaker. Amazing keynote delivery of the address, and it went to the team. And I'm happy to be a part and parcel of this great international conference. And I thank all the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be in these great sessions. So, introduce myself already. Manisha has introduced me. I am Dr. Sister Candy D. Kuha, Associate Professor of English from Andhra Loyola Institute of Engineering and Technology. So let me just express my opinion about all these conferences which are taking online during the pandemic period. It's something, an enriching experience and learning experience for all of us, for especially academicians, to really capture the situation, what is taking place in and around us. And this kind of conferences, seminars, webinars, both national and international, us to really plunge into the deep horizon of education and try to make the best and give our best to make this a better place. So we shall begin with the technical session, and I would like to invite the speakers, the presenter. I have 4 presenters given my slot, and I would like to just mention that let us not see the paper, but let us present the paper. Let us try to tell exactly in the paper, and let's try to make it meaningful and make it very effective way of a learning experience. So may I invite the first presenter, Abdul Wafai from Indonesia, to present his paper. Hello, I repeat. Abdul Wafai. The title of the paper, The Principles of Conducting the Learning in the Era of COVID-19, What and How. May I invite the presenter to present the paper. Is the presenter available? Hello, is it audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
So please, where is the presenter? Is the presenter available for this slot? Abdul Wafai. I think there are 2 people. It is a joint paper. Okay, if not, let us go to the presenter, Jaya Kapoor, Assistant Professor of English, University of Allahabad, UP.
Yeah, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. How much time will I have, if I may?
Madam, I'm given
tell me.
1 hour, right? It is right from 11 to 12. So already
Yeah.
it is 11:06. So I think it can take some 15 minutes. Please present the paper instead of reading the paper. Try to express your ideas.
Yeah, that's what I plan to do. That's why I was asking how much time do I have.
Good.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. and a wonderful introductory lecture that we had. Let's hope that we are able to bring about come to some constructive changes. Now, I am a lecturer here in a university in Uttar Pradesh, and this is a central university. But the fact is that the problems that the most of the institutions here in our part of the country are facing are infrastructural challenges, major infrastructural challenges. Even in normal times, there are major infrastructural challenges. Plus, there is a very major issue that we have started coming across is the problem of language. The language barrier is a major barrier that we are facing. We have been facing that. Being in the Department of English, probably we have not been as acutely affected by this language barrier. But even then, there comes a time where the language barrier does come
Existence.
into being as a challenge. So with COVID-19, the situation became even more extraordinary because we did not know what to do. We were not, as teachers, we were not really equipped with the kind of tools that we had to, that we were expected to use. We were using some of these tools. We were, in fact, trying to understand technology. The younger staff was getting a sort of training, but the fact was that once we got the training, we in the regular times when we came back to the institution, the infrastructural facilities were not so strong that we could usually use those kind of things. As a result, what used to happen was that we used to lapse back into the old system of lecture, and the technological innovations that we did learn were wasted. Sometimes, in some cases, in some very innovative classrooms where students were really keen on learning something more than the mere lectures, we were giving them access to or telling them about various websites or giving them links to YouTube lectures or YouTube videos, or presenting them with movies or other things. Being in literature, these were some of the areas that we could help them with. But apart from that, more or less, it was a lecture mode thing. Now, when COVID-19 comes and the classrooms are all closed down, the problem that comes up before us is how do we handle this? Because most of the staff is a very senior staff. We do not have new teachers. So, and they have settled into the ways of lecture mode. As a result, how do we handle? It was a very major challenge. Even getting them together on a meeting, online meeting, is a challenge. They refuse to come for these online video conferencing meetings because they do not feel very confident about using those devices. That is a very major issue. Now, what happens is students are more tech friendly. For them, getting onto these platforms of Google Meet or Zoom might be easy. For us, it was absolutely a no. We did not know how to do that. Some of the links came to us when the schools reopened. Fortunately, for us here, the annual session of the schools began in March. When the semester system is midway through in the university system, and the annual system is coming to an end. So the BA classes had come to an end, and the exams were supposed to start, and the entire procedure was stopped. The universities had been completely shut down, so there were no exams also. And the semester system classes were stalled. Now, semester system classes are a very small component of the university system here in our university, where most of the things are happening in the annual system, still happening in the annual system. So as a result, the major chunk of teaching had been stalled. The semester system teaching took a break, and then we had to figure out as to how do we conduct the postgraduate classes and the other technical classes. Some very tech friendly teachers quickly shifted onto YouTube, quickly shifted onto Google Classroom, but then for majority of us it was very difficult. So initially what we did was that we formed WhatsApp groups, and in these WhatsApp groups, first we started posting material. Remember, till this time we have no support from the institution, no technological support from the institution. We do not have a platform, we do not have we do not have any kind of a training whereby we could transfer the data online. So all that we could do was some handwritten notes were made into PDFs, or some were typed, because typing was something that we were doing. So some were typed, and then they were uploaded onto a kind of a platform on the university or into WhatsApp groups, which was probably the most popular thing that was happening. The lead that we got was from the schools, actually, because the schools started their classes in March, and the schools were more willing to experiment. So what we found was that the schools were using platforms like Zoom. Schools were very regularly using platforms like Meet and Classroom, even Microsoft Teams. When we started experimenting with these, we found that there was only WhatsApp group along with Google Meet, which was helping us, because Zoom has a class foundation of 40 minutes, and Google Classroom was requiring a lot of email and other details that we were not really into at that point in time. So this is the first part. Now, from the schools, we also learned another thing, and we were all learning it from our home, where the schools were having their classes. The schools started having full regular classes. Was that instead of supplying material, typed material, we could use PDFs, upload PDFs. We could upload text, entire text could be uploaded, and then, because the students do not have access to most of the text that we are teaching, they are either available in the library, or they are passed on from the student to the student, from the seniors to the juniors, and so on. So these were major challenges that we were facing. So we uploaded the PDFs of the texts, then we got onto the WhatsApp groups. Getting all the students together in WhatsApp groups is another major challenge that we face, because most of the students have gone back to their villages. Getting them into contact, getting their numbers, and then getting them together on a platform of Google Meet also is very difficult. It is a big, huge challenge. And if they miss out on the classes, then it becomes very difficult for us. So we had to go through that entire rigmarole of trying to find that particular system. Then later on, as we started getting the phone numbers, the WhatsApp group started becoming bigger, and they became sizable, so that most of the students were being covered. We then started our online classes with Google Meet. But then another major challenge remained. A very big hurdle, a very big obstacle was exams. Because how do we conduct the exams of the students? How do we conduct the exams of the students who are in such far off places? For the undergraduate exams, our university tried to open the exams for a 4-hour slot on decided days, and have them upload the PDF once they had done with the exams. But then the problem was once again of connectivity, which was very bad, very poor. So we had to stall that entire process. For the semester system, once again, we shifted to other ideas of small assignments, of small video presentations, of small little audio clips where they would upload these, and then we could assess them on the basis of that. But then what we are realizing is that these are all makeshift methods, these are all makeshift ideas. Let us hope that we do not have to use them for a very long time, is what something all of us are wishing, that sooner or later, and sooner rather than later, we are able to get back into a normal system of life. But then the problem still persists here, that we have to handle all these things in such a way that we are not unjust to the student, that the student is not that student is not suffering, doesn't go untutored, unknown to most of the major components of the syllabus. Because of that, now the burden of responsibility is the burden of responsibility is that we have to somehow try to get the material that we are teaching in our online classes to the student in the form of text. if we could do that. Now, in such a short time gap, even getting these kind of lectures for the teachers was a very big, it was a very big achievement for them. For somebody who has never used technology for classrooms, for somebody who has never used technology for teaching, even for seminars and conferences, it becomes very difficult. So that major challenge still is left. The students in schools were using a lot of gaming sites as the introductory lecture. The plenary lecture has already told us that they were using a lot of gaming sites, quizzing sites. But then for higher education, this is not possible. It is not even feasible. We are in a different kind of a component. We are in a different kind of a situation. We are not giving them knowledge which is already existing in a very definite module. We are making inroads into new fields of knowledge. We are opening the students' minds to new ways of thinking, fresh ways of ideas. If we are to handle this situation, probably one of the things that has come in very useful for us are some of the documentaries that have been uploaded on sites like YouTube or Netflix or other such sites, which the students are regularly accessing, are regularly accessing. The second is, as a student of literature, instead of just simply asking them to wade through the text, which in a classroom situation is better, now we are encouraging them to move into watching movies, move into watching serials which are based on the texts, move into probably making presentations of the text that they have read, so that the classrooms become interactive and the students encourage other students to read those texts by giving their take on that text. These are some of the things that we are currently experimenting with, and hoping in the heart of hearts that the situation does not lead to some kind of a challenge which becomes difficult to handle. Now, to conclude, I think what I would like to say is that probably now the lesson that we are taking back from the COVID era, and we are taking this lesson back, is that we need to train the teachers. We need to drastically update the technology in the university infrastructure, and let us hope that the teachers also open their mind to newer modes of learning. This has opened our minds to those newer modes of learning, like documentaries, like YouTubes and other places from where we could get material, where we could direct the students instead of making them dependent on the classroom teaching. That probably is one of the biggest things that we have done. For the examination also, probably we need to go away from the 3-hour exam system to a system which is more interactive, which gives more platform to the student to speak up, so that various facets are explored and the student is assessed not only from what the student is reproducing in a 3-hour examination, but also outside that examination hall, the body of knowledge of the student gets assessed. Thank you so much. And that is probably what I would call the crux of my experience of the COVID-19. Thank you. Yeah. Do we take the questions just now, or would you like to take them at the end?
Yeah. We will take the questions, but before taking the questions, let me make my few comments.
Yeah.
Dr. Jaya Kapoor, your paper on the topic entitled Evolving Strategies on the New Pedagogy in Online Learning During COVID-19 was authentically presented as far as my observations are concerned. And you have genuinely expressed all what is happening in the learning scenario as in your institution, and also in other places. And you have also expressed your a kind of a phobia or a fear to face the challenges in the future. That is what I understood. But still, from my part, I would like to suggest, let us be optimistic because we do not know now. COVID-19 is one situation which came. It can be some other situation in the future. So we need to always be prepared for a challenge. And this COVID-19, of course, you beautifully stated that it has taught us a lot of digital technology, because for English teachers, it is very difficult because we go with our text. That is 100% true. We go with our text and we need our students in the class. And literature is beautiful when we explain and express it.
Exactly.
But now,
Exactly.
that is something different, because I too taught literature for past 7 years at PG Center. And right now I'm into an engineering background, wherein I am in English language teaching. But still I feel we need a kind of a shift, a paradigm shift. Now we have started preparing blogs, Google blogs. So that is there on the in Google itself. If you have a mail ID, you can go inside the mail ID and you can open up your blogs. And then the whole college has blogs, and it is wonderfully working out. Then Microsoft Teams, etc. You too may have those kind of technology. So I would say, let us be more positive, optimistic, no matter what comes, but face the challenge. Face the challenge, and definitely it can make a difference. So wonderful paper, madam.
Thank you so much.
Keep going, write
Thank you
good
so much.
research
Thank you.
papers.
Thank
Do
you.
you have a few questions to answer before we go to the next presenter?
Which system is suitable during this pandemic situation? Okay. This is interesting because we cannot suddenly change the system.
Yes.
But what I feel is, and this is my very personal opinion, that an annual system gives you more space. And even in a challenging situation, given more space of one entire year, probably, we have more time to meet those challenges, come out of them, and find a way out. Within a semester system, everything is so rushed that there is absolutely no time. I am not a very big supporter of semester system personally, because we have not been able to delve deep into the texts. We have not been able to give them the kind of treatment that we used to give during the annual system. I am talking from the point of view of a literature teacher. So for me, I suppose that an annual system is much better suited than a semester system. The second question is, could you please tell us, the students, how we have to learn our syllabus and how we have to practice in this pandemic? This probably is something that we have been constantly telling our students. Instead of just sticking to the text, read texts by other writers, read texts by the same writer, other texts, so that your mind opens up to literature. Something that we used to do in the classroom was to encourage the students to go into these texts by telling them stories. We had more time to do all that. Within this kind of a technologically driven thing, it is very difficult to go into that kind of a vista where we are meandering into a text. That way, probably now as students, you can think of, and you have more time at home also, so you can think of a lot of PDFs are available, free PDFs of a lot of books are available. You can explore that. You can explore movies, as I said. You can explore various web series and other stuff which is available related to your texts. For I think humanities, other subjects also of humanities, a similar approach could be done, where in this kind of a access to PDFs, to free material available, is taken, and you can explore and broaden your base instead of depending on the classroom teaching. Thank you so much for your questions. These are good questions. Thank you. They gave me a chance to explore more about what I was talking. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a wonderful explanation you gave. Very good, madam. Now over to the next speaker. Over to the next speaker, Abdul Wafi. Next presenter, sorry. over to this presenter, Abdul Wafi. I'm told
Hello,
that
madam.
he's there in the slot. Yeah.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it's my time.
Please note the title of paper. Title of your paper to the audience.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on. I'm doing it. Can you see my slide?
No, sir.
Oh,
Yes, yes. I think it is.
on the way. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes, that's
Yes,
visible.
yes, yes.
Visible, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's
How many minutes? I mean, do I have for the time to present?
now we have two more presenters to go. So take
Okay.
10 minutes. 10 minutes, I
Okay.
think it would do. 8 to 10 minutes. It's already 11:30 now.
Let
10
me handle it.
minutes.
So first of
To
all, I would
15
like to
minutes.
say,
You can take
okay.
10 minutes, I think.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for the chairman, the chairperson, and also the committee of 3-day International Virtual Conference on Pandemic, Humanity, and Education, organized by Cape Comorin Trust India. And this is my first time to be with you all. And I would like to present my topic, the title, The Principles of Conducting the Learning in the Era of COVID-19. Okay, so I'm doing it with my partner. Okay, my name is Abdul Wafi. You can call me Wafi. I'm from East Java, Indonesia. I am a English lecturer at YIN Madura Institute in Pamekasan, Madura Island. Okay, and my partner is Dr. Nurul Fadila, SPDM Home. She is a lecturer in YIN Loksmawe. Okay, so what I would like to discuss today, I would like to cover 4 points here. The first is introduction, and I would like to talk about the pandemic of COVID-19, what happened to us, and education during the pandemic, how. The second, I would like to talk about the quality of education, what, and the third, the principles, what and how, and the last is conclusion. Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about this. The pandemic of COVID-19, what happened to us. So, you know, during 7 months ago, up to now, we are attacked by a very tiny virus, but this tiny virus is really, really frightening us. I mean, we are so frightened that we should stay at home to save the lives. And also, we are obligated to wear masks, and we should keep distance. And also, if we do, we don't care with the distance, we don't care with the wearing mask, we don't stay at home. So finally we come to hospital and we will perish due to the COVID-19. It is so bad, and it affects to our life. Okay, so what happened to education? So schools are closed. Okay, so we were not allowed to conduct the regular meeting like what we used to have in a school. And finally, we have to use online education, though it is okay, but it is emergency. Many people were in. I think they are not ready to have online education, particularly some of area here in Indonesia. For the people who have much money, so they can have digital devices, sophisticated digital devices. They have, here we have IndiHome, we have Wi-Fi, and with the speed is very amazing. But for the students who stay in a remote area, they got difficulty in finding, the signal. So they have to, climb up the tree to find, like the picture here. They have to climb up the tree to find the signal. Even they conduct the assignments given by the lecturer and also the teachers next to the street here, like what we have here. Okay, this is what happened during the pandemic COVID-19, and we passed through it. So COVID-19 here make our normal life has been disrupted. It means it is totally different from what we used to have before the COVID-19, the coronavirus come to us. But it is a question for us. Is it a challenge or as a problem? So we should think about it. Is it a challenge for us or is it a problem? So if you see from my slide here, during COVID-19, where are we? Are we in a fear zone? Fear zone. I think we make the coronavirus, the situation we have, as like a problem for us. We are so scared. We stay at home. We don't do anything. We are not productive enough because we are so scared, and we blame the situation. We blame the coronavirus. We blame the teachers. We blame the government. We blame everything. We blame everyone. But if we are in a learning zone, so we can, we can use the opportunity here to be productive. We can participate in such kind of this seminar, and we can look for another possible opportunities to grow. I mean, to learn. But if we are in a growth zone, so it is as a challenge for us to make us more productive, to make us more skillful, to make us getting something, change the situation from problem to be challenge. So where are we in this point? Okay, and I'm sure that the people here, I mean, in this forum, are in a growth zone because they look forward something new. They expose themselves to be more productive. Okay, well, so the online learning, I mean, what do you think about the quality of education during the pandemic? Okay, many of us think that the quality of education during pandemic were decreased. We don't talk about the quality of education. We just do our job to be teacher, to be government. To be a teacher, we just give the students tasks every day and every time. But what happened to the students? So they are under pressure. Okay, but now we would like to talk about the quality of education. What is the quality of education? Okay, a quality of education is one that focuses on the whole child, the social, emotional, mental, physical, and cognitive development of each student, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, geographic location. It prepares the child for life, not just for testing. Okay, when we are talking about education, according to this definition, so we try to maximize the skill and also the potential the students have, whether in social, emotional, mental, physical, cognitive development, to make the student ready to go with the global demand, to go with today's situation. Okay, we don't think only on the students' cognitive, whether the students are able to master the knowledge we transfer. No, we don't talk about that. But we teach the student. We provide the student opportunity to survive in such situation. This is a kind of education. We don't think only about testing the student. We don't think only about academic progress, but more than that, we prepare the students to go with the life. Okay, and the goal of quality education here is enable to develop all of their attributes and skill to achieve their potential as human beings. Okay, but how to maintain the quality of education? Okay, number one, it can be through eliminating discrimination. Okay, so we have to think about it. So education is for all level. Education not only for the rich people, but for the poor people as well. And the second is universal literacy and numeracy. So we have to go with, you know, the universal understanding about literacy and numeracy. We teach them about that. And number 3 is inclusive and safe schools. I mean, safe in this case is we have to think of the situation's condition. For example, here, like in Indonesia, some part of Indonesia here, so they have problem in, internet, for example. So the teachers come to their houses one by one. The main point, we try to make them safe. We try to make them able to learn, although they have weaknesses in education. And number 4 is qualified teachers. So as a teacher of COVID-19 era here, we should improve our quality of our teaching. Okay, if nowadays we have online learning, so we should learn how to do online learning well. And number 5 is qualified school management. So the managers of the school or universities should adapt to the situation nowadays. Don't be like a monotonous situation, but we try to see what's going on now, and then we try to adjust with the condition. We try to adjust with the student's condition. We try to adjust with the society's condition. Okay. This is about quality education. And this is the topic that I would like to talk to you all about, principles of conducting the learning, what and how. Why do I have to say this to you all? Why do I have to share this to you all? Because many teachers are copycat. Many teachers are confused in presenting and conducting the learning, online learning. So once they have something new, they try to have it. Why they have something new, they try to grab it. And finally, they are confused, and also the students are also confused. Like what I have in my campus last time, in the beginning of COVID-19 era. So every lecturer uses different online platform, like a Zoom, Google Meet, Google Classroom, Edmodo, and others. But what happened then, because the teacher want to be a little bit sophisticated, but they don't care with the student's condition. And finally, the digital devices are sophisticated, but it is not coming through the students. The students are confused in handling the online learning. So that's why in handling the learning here, I mean in conducting the learning during the pandemic here, so we should hold this principle. Okay. I propose 6 teachers or educators in conducting the learning in the era of COVID-19. Number 1 is teachers' belief. Number 2 is independency. Number 3 is self-initiated learning. Number 4, strategic investment. Number 5, digital literacy. And number 6 is eclecticism. Okay, survey. I did survey to some teachers, some students all over Indonesia, and I found the result here. 6 principles. Number 1, teachers' belief. Okay, like I told you, that teacher here is the controller of the situation in the learning. So the teacher also as the manager of the learning, activities. So as a teacher, I think every teacher has got belief. For example, if I conduct this learning, what should I do? What do I believe if I conduct this learning? So this is the teacher's belief. So as a teacher, we should keep the belief what we have, because many teachers are copycat. Many teachers are confused in using the digital devices because they just follow the trend. But when they go with the trend, but sometimes they don't, they're not having capability to use that online platforms, and finally they are confused. The teachers are confused. The students are also confused. So keep the teachers' belief. What you believe in teaching. For example, if Indian, you are Buddhism or you are Hinduism. So I think your religious background here play a lot in your way of teaching. So keep this. For example, in Buddha, we teach about characteristic. For example, character. So we have to keep this. We have to keep this. Teacher must have a principle of what they believe. Okay, so belief here is a kind of knowledge that is subjective and experience based, and belief here is a part of the process of understanding how teachers shape their work, which is significant to the comprehending of their teaching and their decision in the classroom. So the source of teachers' belief here, their own experiences. So the teacher has got the belief here through their own experiences. For example, I myself, I'm a teacher and also a lecturer. I believe that my students will be happy and will learn a lot if uh, I can have a close relationship to them. I don't put any gap to them, because when I have close relationship with them, I think it is easier for me to transfer or to share the information I have. This is what I believe. Okay. Okay. So here the belief I have taken from WW Lex and SW Edu at AU here. So there are 10, 11 things to believe as a teacher. Number one, as a teacher, we believe that we must believe all children can learn. Okay, so I think this is we have to believe that all children can learn. No children are stupid. No children are left behind. All of the all of the children can learn, as long as we teach them, we help them to learn. And the second is display enthusiasm and passion for what we teach. I think we have to believe this point, because when we show our enthusiasm and our passion to the students, I think the students will get our enthusiasm and our passion. And students are also motivated in learning. Okay, number 3 here, work together as a professional learning community intent on improving students' achievements. Okay, as a teacher, we have to believe that we have to work together. Learning is not only the duty of one teacher, but we have to collaborate with other teachers, with other friends. We have to share, we have to discuss what should we give to the students to get effective learning. Okay, now number 4 here, as a teacher, we have to believe that we must set achievable but challenging class tasks. Okay, we have to set this point. Why? In the learning here, don't set the learning goal too high. For example, if the students in low proficiency, let's say 10, for example, don't set too high like 90. Should be 90, for example. Just say 10, 20, or 30, something like that. Okay, so I think I can't explain you completely, but the point here, as a teacher, we have to believe that we know what we are doing. Don't be copycat. Okay, and then here, as a teacher also, we believe that students can learn best when they believe they can learn in different ways and at different rates. I mean, we have to believe that the students are different from one another. So we have to, accommodate their differences. Okay, so I think here, so you can see there are 7 points here. We believe that students can learn best when. Okay. And next, the second principle that I would like to share you guys, you all, about independent learning, because nowadays is COVID-19 era, so we have to teach our students to have independency in learning. Teach them not to be dependent on the teacher. They have to be independent in the learning. They can browse on internet. They can find other sources in everywhere. Don't teach them to be a dependent person, but try to teach them to be independent learners. Okay. And the next here, tips on encouraging students to have independent learning. Number 1, provide students with opportunities to self-monitor. We encourage them to see their own ability, their own proficiency, and finally, they can know their own potential. We use questioning as scaffolding to independent learning. We try to, trigger their understanding by giving them questions. Okay, number three, the principle here, self-initiated learning. Self-initiated learning here, after they are independent in learning, so they can, manage their own learning by themselves, and they can, they can do what they want to do. The main point, the goal of the learning here is achieved. They can set, they can let's say choose or select the activities that are suitable to them, and finally they can get what they want to achieve. And the best point here is that they can decide, or they can set activities that are joyful to themselves. The main point, this is about learning. And the next principle here is strategic investment. Strategic investment here is, as a teacher or as a lecturer, we have to provide some strategies, some techniques that can be applied by the students themselves. So, for example, I'm teaching English, and I use this technique, for example. So they can use this technique by themselves when they are at home. Okay, this is the strategic investment. And the next principle that I would like
No,
to share
excuse
you,
me, Dr. Abdul. Dr. Abdul,
Yes. Yes.
I think we are running in short of time. Can you make it fast a little? Because
Yes.
we have only 10
2
more
minutes, ma'am.
minutes and we have another two presenters. So
2 minutes is
yeah,
okay.
yeah, please.
Okay.
Don't read,
I
don't read
want
the
to make
paper,
it,
just present it. Make it.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so the next point that I would like to share as a principle of conducting learning in this, COVID pandemic era is digital literacy. Try to teach the students to be able to use all of digital devices that are available nowadays, and try to make them also smart in using those digital devices. This is the digital literacy. Try to teach them also how to grasp and also take the best point of the information are available in the online learning. Okay, next, last is about eclecticism. So because nowadays it's a COVID-19 era, pandemic of COVID-19 era, so monotonous technique in teaching, I think it is not suggested. So we have to use all of the things that we can do, the best thing we can have from all of various techniques, methods, and also approaches, and we can do in our teaching. Not only one technique. There is no one technique that is most effective. Every technique has got positive and negative one. And this is the conclusion. Well, the first point is pandemic COVID-19, a challenge or a problem. So as a lecturer and also as a teacher, we should take this as a challenge, not a problem. Because when we take it as a challenge, we still have motivation and also power to do more. But if we take it as a problem, I think we will be loser. And the second, in the education era, so we are in a fear zone or learning zone or growth zone. So please choose growth zone. And the next point is quality education for life, not for testing only. So here is to make the student ready to go with the global demand. And the life here, as a religious person, we don't think only the life in the world, but we think also the life in hereafter. I myself, as a Muslim here, we have life in the world, safe life in the world, and safe life in the hereafter. Thank you very much. That's what I would like I can share you about. And my closing remark here. You can see the pictures here, but I would like to read my statement here. We cannot be so scientific where humans become our primary concern. we are not allowed to be too idealistic when we have such a certain situation. Like here, we don't think about technology when we are in this picture, because they don't know about technology. What they know is only learning through textbook. But here also, as a teacher who has a baby here, and this is not about technology as well. And here also, when you save life, don't think too much about finding both. Just do what you can do. This is what I can say about. Thank you very much, Mrs. Chairman, Chairperson.
Thank you, Abdul Wafi. Your paper focused mainly on humanistic aspects, and you have emphasized so much on the growth rather than technology, which was wonderfully presented. Since we are since we are running in short of time, and we have two more presenters, we will take the questions at the end, and we also will keep discussions and deliberations if the time permits. So let us move on to the next presenter. Dr. Partha Naskar. Dr. Partha Naskar, Finance Department, Government of West Bengal. Is Dr. Partha Naskar available? The title of the paper is The Relevance of Universal Oneness for Human Unity, Insights from Buddhist Philosophy. The relevance of universal oneness for human unity, insights from Buddhist philosophy. Is the person available? Dr. Partha Naskar, is he available? Okay, let us go to the next presenter. Maybe I think he may come after some time, just like we'll wait for some time. Fourth presenter, Anu Varghese. Anu Varghese. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, good morning to all. I'm Anu Filda Varghese, Assistant Professor on Contract and working at Carmel College, Mala in Kerala. And my topic is a recapitulation on the online education during pandemic. And mainly through this presentation, I would like to focus on the impact, the challenges that are faced by the teaching community, and how the students are affected, moreover that how the family is affected, and what are the positives and the negatives which are happening due to this online education. Okay, and here the teachers are struggling in order to cope with the new system, because all of a sudden the teachers have changed to the style of teaching. It has been changed, and mainly it give a pressure upon the teachers, because the teachers, those who are not not capable to cope up with the new technical gadgets, they have to struggle a lot. They have to study everything, and for studying all those things, it is a time consuming process, and it is a hectic schedule for both teachers as well as the students. And we can say that the online exams which we are conducting, I can say from my point of view, because in our college we are conducting the online exams through Google Forms and all, and we know that how the students are doing that, and it can't be treated as a last tool for understanding the students. We are not getting the good idea that or the full idea notion that whether the children got everything clear. And only one mode of teaching is involved in the teaching learning process most of the time. Only the one-way communication is possible. If you are teaching in a classroom, then a discussion is going on. It is possible in an online education, I agree that, but I don't say that it is always happening. Only it is like a radio broadcasting. The teacher is lecturing everything, and the student will be hearing. Sometimes they may not be hearing, and the teacher sometimes are not able to, and whether the children are getting. Okay, and the exam system also. We are conducting the semester system, and we have to complete the portions within a limited span of time. The teachers are running behind that. So emotional understanding between the teacher and students are lacking. Because if it is a classroom communication, the teacher are seeing the children, they are having a communication with each other. It can be the family issues or whatever it may be, that they are having a bond between themselves, both the teacher as well as the students. But here, what I feel is there is no such type of bonding. The teacher is giving the lecturing, after that she's going for taking another class. No such types of bonding is there. And when we come on to the students, they are undergoing a pressure, because from 8:30 onwards, they are sitting in front of the lab or in front of the phone, and they have to hear everything what the teacher is telling, all the notes they have to write down. For an example, what I can say is my kids, they're in the school, and what the teacher is doing is, the teacher is uploading all the files and asking them to copy it down. And after the class, they are sitting for writing down all the things. And the children is fed up, and they are telling that it is better to go to school. So online education is having positive side as well as the negative side. And the lack of new gadgets. I'm a person who is teaching in a rural area. And so I know that the students, those who are in my institution, most of the students are coming from a poor family situation or poor family financial background. And so students, they are not able to buy a high priced laptop or a computer or that much big phone. So when the COVID starts or when the online education starts, what happens is that they are pressuring on their parents. Then their parents have to buy all those things to them. And even the parents, they don't know how to use these gadgets. And what the children are doing, some children are good. Okay, I am not blaming any children at all, but some students or some children, they will go beyond that. They are eager to know something new. So the parents are not at all knowing about what the children are looking in the sites. And the quality of the education has changed. That we have to, that is one of the things what I experienced from this learning through online education. And those who are residing in the rural areas, they are facing a problem of network issue. We are not having that much of network issue in the rural areas. When we compare it with the people, those who are residing in the cities, that is okay for them. The online education will be going in a good way or in a proper way. But those who are residing in the rural areas, they are struggling, that we have to say, because of the network issues. And how it is, what are the impact on the families is that the parents of the kids, or that means the pre-KG kids, that parents have to be with them from the class. When the class starts until it ends, the parents have to be with them, because for writing, in order to read a word, for everything, the parents have to be with them, because they don't know how to use the things. If it is in a school, the teacher will be there or the assistant teacher will be there in order to make them write, in order to make them read, and so on. But here, due to the online education, what is happening? The parents have to set aside the home household things or household duties to one side, and they have to be with the kids. That is a pressure. That is one kind of pressure we have to notice during this time. And all the assignments which are given by the institutions, what the parents are doing for the small kids. Parents are doing all the homeworks, they are doing all the assignments, and they are uploading it, because the children may not be able to upload everything. Meanwhile, they will do, after some months, they will do. That is okay. But the present time, the parents are struggling very hard. And the working parents, when we move on to the working parents, what is happening? Working parents, they don't have the time to talk to the children, because they are busy with their own works, because they are also doing the work from home. So they will be in one room, the children will be in another room with their classes. All are in a home, or all are in a house, within one house, but everyone is different from one another, or no one is having an attachment. Everyone said that the COVID is having what our family relations is growing up and all. But for the working parents and all, I don't think it is actually working. because they are having a hectic schedule for that. And use of modern tools. Now only we, the teachers, are familiar with the Google Meet, Zoom, Moodle, WebEx and all. Earlier we were going to the school, or we were going to the college and we were teaching two-way communication using the blackboard and chalk. But what happens? Everything has been replaced by this Google Meet, Zoom and all. It is okay. It is positively, it is, if it is taken, then it is okay. But the discussions, when we move on to the, or when we say about the two-way communication process, we can say that in the online classes, we can give the discussions. Discussions can be done, or the presentations can be done. So then only the two-way communication is possible. Some students are very eager to know, or they are very easy to ask questions to the teachers, but some other will keep calm and silent in the class. After the class, nothing will be there. The teacher will left the class or left the Google Meet, and the children will be doing the same thing. No communication is taking place. And so teacher as well as the students is taking more time in order to cope up with this modern tools. When we are in the track, then it is okay. And the parents, those who are having a less educational qualifications, they don't understand what the children are communicating regarding these gadgets. So the parents are also really struggling. And these are the things which I find very difficult things in the online education, or due to the online education. And there are many platforms like YouTube channel or the Diksha portal, Swayamprabha, that will help the teacher to meet the students' requirements easily. And another thing, what I find is, in order to synchronize the images or videos in the correct positions is an important element in an online teaching. And in order to clarify all those things, teacher can give assignments or any works to the students, and an active participation is needed in an online education. Otherwise, it will be very bored. The students will fed up, because after each class, they will be, oh, this class over. So this is a kind of way the students are doing. So the teacher has to be very active while teaching the class, and she has to present the topic in a good manner. And these are the things. And what we say is a teacher is like a facilitator. And the traditional form of the teacher, or the traditional role of the teacher, has been changed. And another thing, what I find is getting feedback. Feedback is a good way in order to understand whether the child is getting or grasping everything in the way we given the class. So in our institution also, we are giving the feedback forms to the children. And so then only we are getting the idea that, oh, all this and so things we have to change. In this way we have to take. So they are giving like such kinds of informations. And some are not very able to upload the things also. So all those things are very problematic during these periods. So in order to make these things, what I found out is that going along with the things, we have to adjust, or we have to adapt what the modern tools are, and we have to find time in order to study. We have to go along with the modern things. That is what I find out through this COVID learning. And to conclude, I would like to give, because of the short span of time, I told very in a quick way, and I have tried to give an analysis how the present condition of COVID-19 has created an impact on all sections, especially on the education department. Every day new gadgets are coming, and all have to do is that we have to go with them, nothing else. Thank you.
Yes, Anu,
Yes.
Anu Fulda, Varghese. That was a good presentation. You have expressed your opinion about COVID-19, and you have expressed the difficulties in learning, especially children and all that. So just I would like to make a few comments. Here in Andhra Pradesh, our government has taken an initiative to start a Saptagiri channel for 10th class and intermediate students, where at least some lectures or some things can be broadcasted. So they have taken a special initiative, that too with the influence of people and all this panchayat, etc., etc. Because here also people are from the rural background. And in the colleges, I think all the institutions, they are taking utmost care to conduct classes through Microsoft Teams or Google or Zoom, etc. I don't know how each institution is doing, but as far as our Loyola institutions are concerned, we have LMS facility and we also have Microsoft Teams. I would like to say that let us be optimistic, as I said before. And one more thing over here is, in the keynote address, we also heard very clearly that the teachers are to be trained. First of all, the teachers have to be optimistic. Teachers have to encourage. Teachers have to see for the possibility. See, something is better than nothing. There is a saying, right? So we need to give education. Otherwise, we will spoil the life of children. So transfer education through some technology, through some digital tools, or make kind of arrangements. See that according to the need of the hour, etc. So where there is a will, there is a way. So since you have brought out a spirit of humanness means concern for the poor and all that, just like Abdul Wafi's paper, he too expresses his desire for the poor. Yeah, we too sympathize with the poor and feel for the poor. But now we should also keep in mind that we are in 21st century. And the National Accreditation Council, this body, NAC, NBA, those teams, they also ask for a lot of digital techniques and technology. We have to escalate now. We cannot say even tradition is good. In literature, we read tradition and modernity. We have studied T.S. Eliot, right? Tradition and modernity, tradition and individual talent, all those we studied. But we have to also escalate and we have to move on in life. So we need to make possible changes. We have to explore the situation and see what can be done to the best. All the five fingers are not same, and every coin has two sides. There will be negativity, but still we have to look forward. That's